The school year 2012-2013 marks the start of the K-12 curriculum in the Philippines. Prior to the implementation, it had pioneered discussions as to whether this curriculum is a need and will it benefit Filipino learners and the country in a large scale. Consequently, the K-12 program covers kindergarten and 12 years of basic education to provide sufficient time for mastery of concepts and skills, develop lifelong learners, and prepare graduates for tertiary education, employment, and entrepreneurship. On the other hand, the move stirred public clamor as many questions about the raw implementation with regards to preparation and availability of learning materials, but the government was firm with its conviction to pursue this new curriculum in high hopes of producing quality graduates that could withstand the challenge of the globalizing world. Good day, everyone. Our group will be having an online mini debate with the proposition resolved that the K-12 curriculum has benefited Filipino learners. At this juncture, please allow me to introduce our debaters from the affirmative and negative sides. They will take turn in presenting their arguments relative to the proposition. They will tackle the curriculum itself and its implementation. Ladies and gentlemen, the debaters from the affirmative side. First speaker, Grisel Joy Ganghe. Second speaker, Lourdes Janine Mayo. Third speaker, Colin K. Muscaya. Now, the debaters from the negative side. First speaker, Lian Marie de los Reyes. Second speaker, Meryl Ann Esrevillo. And third speaker, Crisel Joy Padillo. Now, please have a grip of yourself as they start to clash and battle with their words and arguments. Ladies and gentlemen, the debate with the proposition now begins.
As the world faces another turn of revolution human development, education should sail through it. The K-12 program, which was implemented in as early as 2013, forced the shift in Philippine educational system, ensuring that every Filipino graduates can compete and market themselves in a highly globalized arena. If before this, we've already do well with the highly global standards, then this could be seen as a promise towards a more progressive and globalized future. It's only normal to have lapses in the early stages of implementation, but everything doesn't just stop there. The new curriculum is still being refined in the process. This is implemented at the earliest time possible to keep up with the rapidly changing climate of business, education, politics, and other fields concerned in the global scale. K-12 program promotes global competency and accelerating mutual recognition of Filipino graduates and professionals. In other countries, starting with kindergarten as a foundation for lifelong learning and development, the 12-year curriculum aims to give students the journey education that they deserve. Foreign countries perceive that a 10-year curriculum in the education department is insufficient. That is why many Filipinos abroad are not qualified and recognized professionals. But with the new curriculum, graduates are fully equipped with the skills which can help them stand out on a global scale and compete accordingly in par to international standards.
The implementation of the new curriculum was a deemed solution in the country, yet undeniably, this change in the curriculum has also brought along major problems and burden among students, teachers, and parents. I, together with my fellow speakers, see this implementation more as a burden than as a solution. Findings from ETNA 2008 states that the implementation of the K-12 curriculum presented the following challenges: lack of preparation, professional development, excessive burden on students, and difficulty integrating lessons in real-life context. Senator Trillanes also said that we are not ready for the K-12 because there are areas in our country that are lacking necessary equipment for delivering quality education. As in the early years of the implementation, it is fair enough to say that large number of teachers in the country are not fully prepared, which in turn cause a negative impact on the educational system. Statistic from UNESCO also shows that the Philippines has a total of 1.4 million children who are considered out of school youth and the only Asian country that is included in the top 5 countries with the highest number of out of school youth. This data has been correlated to poverty, financial constraints, and enthusiasm to study. Critics says that if students cannot go even all through these 10 years of education, what more adding 2 extra years? Even before K-12 curriculum was introduced, the country's educational system is already stable and good, producing professionals and competitive graduates. Furthermore, I firmly believe that students will still acquire the prerequisite skills and knowledge they need throughout the course of the previous curriculum. Therefore, my judgments are anchored enough to express my disapproval on the statement that K-12 curriculum is benefiting the learners. You just have heard my conviction and I stand firm on it.
The implementation of the K-12 curriculum have induced mixed reactions, a combination of backlash and praise from the public, but we, in the affirmative side, firmly believe that the current system have been benefiting the Filipino learners. With this, allow me to elaborate how. First, the K-12 curriculum has improved student learning. A standardized abilities test for adults or the SATA was conducted in Cebu, reported its result that the STEM and the ABM groups obtained above average scores in most of the subtests. The UMS and the GAS groups obtained average scores, while the TVL group got the below average. Number 2. The enhanced quality of basic education is critical in preparing students for entering higher education and career paths. With the adaptation of the K-12 scheme, strengths selection allows students to study subjects that align with their passions and the course they plan to take in college. Number 3. K-12 fosters gainful employment and entrepreneurship. During senior high school, students will be able to acquire skills that enable and prepare them for work after graduation, especially in the TVL strand. Graduates of the new system can instantly get a job after getting certificates and passing TESDA's competency-based assessments. Also, according to the guidelines for work immersion, students have undergone a minimum of 80 hours of work immersion, which gave them a real-time experience in the workplace. This provides them the opportunity to be familiar in the work environment and enable them to apply their competencies in areas of specialization in these environments. Moreover, in a recent survey made by JobStreet, there are many firms which welcome graduates of senior high school for jobs. These include BPO, manufacturing, professional services, retail, and the machinery industries. Everyone, K-12 curricula in the Philippines will put Filipino students at par with the rest of the world. Truly investing in education is the key towards reaching national growth and development.
The government firmly said that K-12 curriculum offers opportunities for every Filipino learner to make our education at par with the rest of the world. But the question is K-12 curriculum truly beneficial to Filipino learner? The answer is no. Additional 2 years in high school means additional burden to less privileged Filipino learner, particularly to working students. Additional 2 years poses financial difficulties to families of low income, not to mention the fact that we are in a society where poverty thrives at every corner. Some students opt to attend school at daytime and work at night. These individuals are struggling to put together their study and work, but some cannot withstand the adversities and decided to stop studying, which eventually leads to the increased rate of dropouts in the country. In fact, data from the 2016 Annual Poverty Indicator Survey of the Philippine Statistics Authority show that 3.8 million, or 1 in 10 Filipinos aged 6 to 24 years old, are not in school, mainly because of the ill-planned and haphazardly implemented K-12 program. Pasig City Representative Roman Romulo claimed that DepEd cannot admit the millions of students with the lack of classrooms and facilities. As a result of this, millions of students have been deprived of rights in terms of education. According to the 1987 Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines, Article 14, Section 1, the state shall protect and promote the right of all citizens to quality education at all levels, and shall take appropriate steps to make such education accessible to all. When I was in senior high school, our school implemented a shifting class, one for the morning class and others are for the afternoon. The school did this because of the lack of classrooms and facilities. Likewise, teachers suffered due to insufficient trainings on how to go on with the said program properly. With this said, I believe that K-12 program is not beneficial to Filipino learners. You have just heard my conviction, and I stand firm on it.
The demands of a globalizing world, as well as the behaviors of the learners, shifted toward a fast-paced change. So does the curriculum. K-12 curriculum addressed issues concerning students' learning and mastery of skills. A nation's progress depends on education and its system. The implementation of the K-12 system in the Philippine basic education curriculum is the key to our nation's development. It is a necessary improvement since increasing the quality of our education is critical to our nation's success. With K-12 education, students have sufficient instructional time for subject-related tasks, making them more prepared in every subject area. With the old system, Filipino students were consistently behind on achievement scores. It was designed to be learner-centered, which greatly encouraged students to be more engaged in their learning process because the learning is focused on the individual preferences of each student. The process of acquiring new information and skills that are used for daily life and for the future will be more beneficial and enjoyable for students. Finally, with K-12 education, Filipino graduates will be automatically recognized as professionals abroad because we are following the international education standard as practiced by all nations. There will be no need to study again and spend more money in order to qualify for international standards. Our country relies heavily on overseas workers, and the rise of a borderless world opposing against a K-12 system is very impractical. We have to view this system as a step forward. Yes, the implementation was not perfect, and no one expected it to be. Hence, the debate right now is on how we can improve the system moving forward. As a student, I can honestly say the K-12 spiral curriculum was able to help me. The subjects that we took were pre-discussed in my senior high school years. Not everything, but at least I have the ideas. Developmentally appropriate learning, prior knowledge is central to learning, teachers focus on structuring work to follow logical progression, and there is integration and collaboration. The COVID-19 pandemic has produced a new world full of challenges, dilemmas, as well as opportunities. It is up to us to adopt and transform the challenges and dilemmas to opportunities for growth and development for our nation and the global community. If we are not going to support the system, what will happen? If not us, then who? If not now, then when? Can we take a year or so of no classes and learning? What will happen to students and teachers who have the passion to continue despite the pandemic?
The introduction of this new curriculum to schools harvested many comments, even reaching a point of seeing it negatively. In the Philippine setting, DepEd considers the spiral progression approach as a solution to educational problems, as emphasized by the previous speakers. However, can spiral progression really ensure continuity and alignment in learning? The dilemma in this method is that the rate for introducing new concepts in classroom is often either too fast or too slow. All topics are allotted with the same amount of time, whether regardless of the level of difficulty. Units are approximately the same length, and each topic within a unit is a day's lesson. In some days, there will be scarcity of allotted time. The fact that an entire class period must be devoted to a single concept makes it difficult to sequence instruction to ensure that students acquire necessary pre-skills before introducing difficult skill. Furthermore, in a spiral curriculum, many topics are covered but only briefly. On the average, teachers spend less than 30 minutes of instructional time across an entire year to 70% of the topic they cover. Another disadvantage of the spiral design is that it does not promote sufficient review once units are completed. There may be some review of the previously introduced topics within the chapter, but once students move on to the next chapter, previous concepts may not be seen again until they are covered the following year. To end, we should remember that aside from shifting to a more relevant and timely curriculum, principles of learning and development taught us that learning is a result of an interplay of many factors: the student, the parents, the teachers, the school, the material resources, and the community. This sums up to a negative perception of the K-12 curriculum. Either way, some benefits don't justify the means.
Not all have benefited, not all have gained. Yet this doesn't mean that K-12 can already be deemed as a negative. Realistically speaking, every curriculum has a so-called downside. There will always be some struggles masked behind every success. With that said, experiencing some difficulties and not fully enjoying the sweet promises of a newly introduced curriculum doesn't equate it to a failure. As what we have learned in our course, not all curriculums are created. Some are just being refined in the process. K-12 is both a new program and at the same time a curriculum that is constantly being refined. Though it has restructured their educational system, we can also deny the fact that it has some lapses, especially when it comes to the planning, designing, and implementation stage. Whether K-12 has been beneficial or not shouldn't be solely viewed on a limited perspective. But what's certain is that education doesn't just start and end in the portals of our educational system. It is found on how we navigate our lives despite uncertainties. Good day.
Both debating sides have proven their arguments. Now is the time for you to decide, our dear viewers and listeners. That concludes the online mini debate. Thank you for staying with us.